Welcome back to another episode of Import Modify, guys. On this episode, we're going to be turning up the boost in the Z31 Turbo, but first, we have to fix it because I broke it. I did diagnose the problem. I found out what it is. I'll go over what went wrong, how we're going to fix it. Then, we're going to be installing this boost controller and turning up the boost, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so I ended up buying this boost controller from Blocks, and I was very stoked on installing it and turning up the boost, so I wanted to get the BMW off the lift out of the way to free up the base so I can do that install. And I cranked up the Z31 Turbo, moved it out of the way, and when it came time for me to crank it back up to move it back in, I ended up having a no start condition. So I started the diagnostic process, and what I found out is I had fuel pressure, so I started questioning the crank sensor. And then I put a Noid light on the connector for the fuel injectors. I got a pulse, so fuel pump's good, the crank sensor's good. So I started checking the ignition side of things. I put a timing light on the #1 spark plug, and I cranked it over. Did not have any fire, so I put it on the coil wire to check if maybe the problem was inside the cap and rotor. Still no fire, so I started looking at my MSD setup, and I checked the 12-volt signal source. I have the signal source, so I looked into how to diagnose the MSD box, and it says basically turn on the ignition, ensure you have the 12-volt source, which I did, and it tells you to go to the magnetic pickup, and you want to short these terminals out, and whenever you release it from the short, it will fire the ignition box manually. So I put the coil wire right there to a good ground. I checked this source to the battery ground, which is a really good ground. And whenever I do that, the box makes a chirping noise. So started doing a little bit more research. Other people had a chirping noise problem. Ended up being the box was bad. So I ended up sourcing me out another MSD box off of eBay. I paid 70 bucks for it. They said it tested good. So I got that. We're going to go ahead and install that. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I'm talking about and let you guys hear the chirping noise yourself. And hopefully after I swap out the box, that'll cure the ignition problems and the vehicle will run like it should again. And then from there, we'll get to installing the boost controller, turning up the boost pressure to 10 psi, and I'm going to use my Apexi unit, the SAFC2, to adjust the fuel parameters to match the boost. And hopefully we can end this video on a happy note, and I can't wait to see what it's going to feel like at 10 psi. So I'm going to go ahead, show you guys a chirping noise real quick, and then we're going to get into taking this out and reinstalling the new one. Alright guys, so I'm going to demonstrate the noise that I'm getting from the box. Now I do have this coil wire right here placed really close to a ground. Now I did check this ground with my ohm meter. It is a good ground. And basically with it being this close to the ground, it should arc across. Now this power transistor, I had a problem in the past, and I have the 91 Nissan Maxima power transistor, and I took it out and replaced it with the OEM one and swapped the pins back to the way they should go, just to test that this was in fact good. Now it is good because the problem still persisted. But now that I have it set up, I'm going to demonstrate the noise real quick. Going from the magnetic pickup, the ignition switch is on. Now when I short it and release it, it should fire. But it's not. It's just making that chirping noise. I'll put it real close to that. Right there. It should have no problem arcing with this box right there. So it is in fact bad. Let's go ahead and swap it out with the other one I got, and hopefully that should fix it. Alright guys, I just want to point something out really quick that I thought was pretty cool. But if you look at the serial number here, it is serial number 52. This one is 2707. So this is a very early edition of this model. I'm not saying that's the reason it failed, but you know, I thought that was pretty cool. But we have to set this box up for a 6-cylinder. And the way you do that, you take off a screw and there's a cover that covers up these wires. Now you're supposed to disconnect the red lead that loops through, and that sets it up for a 6-cylinder. And you look at the one I got, they cut both of them, and that sets it up for a 4-cylinder, I believe. So I need to go ahead and reconnect the blue leads together so we have the box set up for 6-cylinder. Just want to cover that with you guys really quick, and I thought that was pretty cool how early of an addition this one was. But later on I'm going to take this box apart and see exactly what went wrong with it, and if I can order a part and repair it, I'm going to go ahead and do that in the future. But let's move on. I'm going to get this taken care of and we'll get back to installing it. Alright, so I got everything wired up. I got the power transistor swapped back over, and I was trying to swap the leads back out in the connector, but the little tabs are so damn worn out. I just went ahead and cut the wires and swapped the wires. I fought with it for like 30 minutes and I just gave up on it. I could not get those tabs to unlock from the pins, but not a big deal. I got the wire swapped over so that will work with this power transistor. So now I'm going to put the fuse back in for the fuel pump. I need to connect the ground back on the battery. We're going to go ahead and crank it over and see if this bad boy fires up. Alright, success. So I got it running now, and I'm very happy that, you know, I figured it out being the MSD box. Now hopefully this one's going to last me a lot longer than the other one that I had, and I won't run into that problem for a while, if not ever. But happy that it's running now. And when I first started to turn it over, it didn't want to crank because I forgot to plug in the spark plug wire to the distributor. My bad on that. But once I plugged it in and cranked it up, it was stumbling pretty good because it was really rich. So now I'm letting it all clear out. I'm letting it warm up. I need to go back and clean up all the wiring with some electrical tape, make it all look nice and neat, and then after that we will start working on the boost controller. Boost controller should be a lot easier than installing the MSD box, but give it a couple revs. She's sounding really good, so totally stoked about that. So I'm gonna let it run for a little bit, let it cool down, and then we'll move on to the manual boost controller. Alright guys, so I got the cars rearranged. I have the Z31 turbo up on the lift. I did take the wheel off because I don't know if I'm gonna have to drill on the strut tower area in order to mount the clamp, so that's yet to be seen. But this is the manual boost controller. Right here you have an adjustable knob up on top, which allows you to add or subtract. Now keep in mind you are hard set to the spring tension that's on the internal wastegate. So if you subtract it all the way out to its lowest setting, it's going to be hard set to the actual boost setting from the internal wastegate. But adding boost, you would turn it clockwise and that would add boost. This part right here is going to go to the wastegate. This part right here is going to go to the turbine port. So it's pretty simple, just 2 hoses, a clamp, and you're ready to go. Now I need to get access to that hose and I have to remove this clamp. Well, these 2 clamps, and remove the coupler to gain access to that hose. And then after that, we'll mock everything up and see what is a good location for it, and then we'll move on from there. Alright guys, so I got it installed now, and I have the boost controller right here on the side, and it already had a hole on the side that was down there, and all I did was thread it 6x1, and I went through the strut tower right there with the clamp, and I have it actually bolted with a nut on the back side of it right there. And I got the hoses routed around the coupler. I gotta tell you that was a pain in the ass because it was very hard to work with the angles and the vacuum lines they give you. It wasn't like a real easy fit over those fittings, but I was able to get it. It's good to go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the car back off the lift, put the tire back on before I do that, obviously. And then we'll go ahead and take it on some rips and get this thing up to 10 psi. I have Eric here. Eric's gonna help me out with the camera and everything so we can make our adjustments and get this thing up to 10 psi. Alright guys, so the way we're gonna go about doing this is I have the boost controller all the way out. So I'm gonna make a rip and see where I'm boosting at. Then we're gonna have to pop the hood, turn the knob, make another rip, and just do it like that, all while taking note of the wideband. So I got Eric here. He's going to be holding the camera. He's going to be paying attention to things and stuff with the wideband, and I'll be paying attention to the boost. And hopefully we can get this thing, you know, up to 10 psi and get the fuel just right for it. So go ahead and hold it, Eric. I'm going to make my first little rip, and hopefully it doesn't play with the stock boost setting. I don't know. We'll see. Oh shit! It's over boosted, dude.
Yeah, it went way lean. I'm glad you got out of it that quick.
That was over boost.
What did it get up to?
10 right there.
We got something we gotta figure out.
Just film kind of me driving.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Get off, get off.
Where are we, way lean?
Like 17s.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe you have it all the way closed.
I have it all the way. I have it all the way out.
If the wastegate actuator has a high leak down, which cheaper ones tend to, it might not be bleeding off enough.
Just slowly bring it up. Hold on. Watch my fuel.
Yep. Lean.
That was lean. That was like 9 right there.
Went way lean. Snap lean.
Like how lean did it go?
Like it was 12, 12, 12, 16.
12, 12, 16s, okay. So now I'm gonna go and make some adjustments with my controller here. And boost is around 3. I'm gonna start it at 28. Oh, that's why I got it way lean. Okay, so 20, I'm gonna go plus 4. That's why, plus 4. Oh, I got it all way lean, that's why. Plus 4. So the reason it's leaning out is because I had all the settings like -2 from 3000 on up. So I'm turning all the levels. You can show the camera right here. Can you see it? Just put it So what I'm doing basically is I'm going through, see, that one was -5, dude. What the hell, man? What happened here? Yeah. So I'm turning the fuel level up throughout the whole RPM range, and that should give us a lot more fuel while we boost. No wonder why I was leaning out so bad. I should have went ahead and checked that. I thought I had it +3 across the board, but obviously I must have messed with it. Not noticing what I did, but we'll make another run. Pay attention to show that.
It's only a little lean now. You're in the mid-13s.
Mid-13s. Okay, I don't have nothing. I mean, with that boost controller all the way out, I'm getting 10 PSI without even turning the knob. So that's crazy, man. So you said we were at 13?
Yep. As soon as you got into boost, I didn't know what the RPM was where you were at.
Try that. Are you? Never mind. Just pay attention to it.
Yep, no problem.
All right, I'm gonna go back in second.
Yep.
Tell me when we lean.
Lean.
Okay, that was 47, so I need to turn up 4,800 RPM on this tack right here. So 47, he called lean. I'm gonna turn 48 up to 10.
Yeah, you got to.
Tell me when. Solid.
You're okay.
Okay, where were we at, in the 12s?
You got the real high 12s for a second. You flashed right back down to the mid 12s and even into the lower part. Right after the onset of boost, you were way down in the 10s, which is fine.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pay attention now to the boost levels.
Okay.
Once we get past this car does what it's gonna do. Just don't want to blow my engine, man.
Of course.
Suck doing all this work and then you pop the freaking engine and all that works for nothing.
Enjoy the restriction, I guess. Right where you want to be. And you're staying 12s as long as you're not in first gear.
And I'm in 12s throughout the whole rev range?
All the way.
All the way into 12s?
Yep.
Okay. Well, just like that, we got a good rough tune on it. And I'm gonna play with it just a little bit more, and then we will wrap up the episode. So be back to you here in a second. There's a couple more things I want to check before I wrap up the episode, but I'll get back to you guys here in a second. Alright guys, success. We were able to fix the car and get the boost levels up to 10 PSI with the manual boost controller. Now, I was hoping that right off the bat with me having the dial all the way out that it would be on the stock wastegate setting, but that wasn't the case. Right off the bat, it was at 10 PSI, and I did not pay attention to the air fuel controller. I had The fuel trim levels on the high RPM range, way too lean from the get-go. I thought they were at higher levels. So a good thing I didn't burn up my damn engine, because it was like 17-1 the first go around. But anyway, we got that all sorted out. We got the fuel trims good now. Everything's reliable, and I'm very happy with the way it feels. It feels like a different car altogether now. So that is very cool indeed. And I did get all my parts in for the Vanos on the M3. So we'll be rebuilding the Vanos system here on future episodes on the S54 engine. And I still yet have to get the ARP rod bolts and the bearings, because those damn things are expensive. Just between the rod bolts and the bearings is almost $400. So I didn't have enough money to throw at the engine all at once to get all the parts I needed. I got everything for the Vanos, but I will within the next week get the parts for the rod bearings and the rods with the bolts and bearings. So once I have all the parts together, we're just going to go at it. We're going to hit this thing hard. We're going to get it all taken care of. And then at that point, we'll be ready to start putting all this back into the E46 M3 chassis. And I'm totally stoked and can't wait for that to happen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And if you're here for the first time, definitely subscribe. I'm trying to hit the 1,000 mark. We're so close. And all you subscribers out there, if you want to be notified of when I do upload my content, hit the bell. But with that being said, I'm all done. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will definitely see you guys on the next episode.